Hey everyone, welcome back to Trek on the Tube. The first season of Star Trek Lower Decks is almost over. That's right, we just got the ninth and penultimate episode of this first season. It's time for me to share my thoughts, my opinions, and go over all of the Easter eggs that I could find. Also, happy Spooktober, as people like to say. I got my Trek on the Tube 2019 Halloween shirt on. Hopefully, sometime this week we'll get our 2020 shirts up on the store. Alright, let's go. Star Trek Lower Decks, Season 1, Episode 9, Crisis Point. This was a holodeck episode, but not like any I've ever seen before. Yes, it did use and recycle many tropes and ideas we've already seen in the franchise, which is a thing Star Trek has been doing since the animated series. Let's not kid ourselves. We've already seen characters watch movies before, we've also already seen characters use holodecks for therapeutic reasons, and frankly, most of what happens in Crisis Point are things jacked from our beloved movies, from the motion picture to beyond. But we've never quite seen a holodeck movie before, nor have we seen the self-medication use of the holodeck pushed to such extremes, and it's genuinely the first time Star Trek has poked so much fun at itself in such a meta way, which makes the final product, the episode as a whole, quite unique. Seriously, it was great, because in addition to the skillful integration of all the references, the story itself was compelling. I mean, I am convinced that even without a vast knowledge of Star Trek and a great understanding of the franchise, one can still very much appreciate and enjoy this episode. You know what's interesting? I have a whole list of positive things to talk about, but nothing negative. No, the episode wasn't perfect, of course not. But strangely, I have no specific elements that I can use as examples to illustrate what didn't make this episode perfect. I guess all I can really say is, and I know this is somewhat abstract, Lower Decks sometimes is a bit much. I know, I know, but it's true. Sometimes Lower Decks is a bit much. And that's the only thing really pulling me away from the true greatness qualifier when it comes to a lot of these episodes, this one included. Crisis Point had no specific negatives, but the fact that it was, I don't know, to a certain degree overwhelming ended up affecting my overall opinion. So yeah, as abstract as it may seem, Crisis Point was a bit much. That being said, I loved it. The aesthetics were wonderful, over the top, and perfectly fitting for the context. The widescreen, the film grain, the lens flares, the slick, shiny animation worked so well for the story being told. Not to mention the quality of the CG models were pushed to the limit of what this show can offer. I was blown away. The sound design and score were also fantastic, from the musical references to previous Star Trek pieces to the strong orchestral movements created by the artists behind Lower Decks. The writing was impeccable. I've seen people complain about the writing on this show, and I just don't see it. Yeah, there are ups and downs, just like you might get the odd weaker episode of, say, Better Call Saul, but to blanket call the writing of Better Call Saul bad would be ridiculous. Same thing here, there are ups and downs, but never so extreme that they kill the show. Anyway, back to Crisis Point. The writing was, as we said, impeccable, because not only did the story work and the characters grow, I mean, we really got into Marina's issues here, and they made Tendi take a stand when it was too much for her, which I appreciated very much, but the style of dialogue also changed up when it was delivered by the movie versions of each of the characters. And then the comedy. The comedy. The one thing that you, or I, or Bob here will never fully agree on. Because it's so subjective. Well, I'll tell you what. Everything we just talked about, the music, the aesthetics, the dialogue, the references, what we know about the characters so far, all of that worked so well that when they blended it together here on screen, the comedy just worked. I mean, this episode got the first laugh out loud moment from me. Da Vinci at the end? No, not today. It was so good. I loved it. But that's not the only joke that worked. I mean, so many were good. Rutherford, impressed by the program, mentioning he had the exact same conversation with real-life Shax. The delivery on that line was absolutely perfect. Shempo was great too. A welcome bit of light-hearted humor until he died. Tendi acting like a pirate but not really managing it too well. I'll steal from anyone and never give it back. Theft! Also, Billups eating his soup, stone cold, badass. The jokes were strong, and the voice acting in all of those instances were just as solid. I mean, all that's left for me to say is I loved the episode. And even though it's probably not the best of the season, I'd say it'll go down as being the most memorable. Alright, Easter eggs, references, winks and nods. There were so many in this episode, so brace yourselves. Let's begin with the rat people and lizard people featured in the beginning of the episode. Most of us seem to believe that the rat people were Antikins, a species we've seen before in The Next Generation. There's nothing to confirm or deny that they are indeed one and the same, but they sure as hell do look very similar. It is also worth noting that the Antikins, just like these rat people, had beef with a reptilian species. Mariner is sent to therapy. We've seen therapists on board starships before, the most famous being Counselor Deanna Troi. Of course, in this episode, Mariner decides to go her own route and self-medicate with the holodeck. This is most likely a reference to Barclay, who did the same thing both in The Next Generation and Voyager. Side note, Boimler recreating the crew in the holodeck is something Barclay also did in The Next Generation, and Tuvok did it as well in Voyager, even if those characters had different motivations for doing so. Moving right along to all of the references that were delivered by the holodeck simulation, let's start with Da Vinci. Captain Janeway spent a lot of time with this very hollow character in Voyager. I think he was even dressed the same. Mariner reprograms Boimler's practice project into a movie by using the actual script from this actual episode, as you can see. The movie begins, in-universe is featured for the first time the Next Generation font. The opening credits are reminiscent of the way older movies began, not just in Star Trek, but, you know, just movies in general. But as an example, in the franchise, the motion picture opens with on-screen credits and music, the same way this did. Continuing on with the motion picture, this scene is a direct reference to one of the most iconic scenes in that movie. The music, the beauty shots, the mention that the ship has gotten some upgrades. It's all been done before, it's all been seen before, and this time it's pushed to the limit where the comedy comes in how long the scene takes. We mentioned this earlier, but I will say it again. When we're in this holodeck movie of sorts, the episode goes to widescreen and the animation has some added film grain to make it feel more like a movie. But that's not all. We also get a stupid amount of shininess and lens flares, which has become a staple of science fiction in recent years, mainly due to their excessive use in both Star Trek from 2009 and Into Darkness. We also get a ridiculously over-the-top warp effect when the Cerritos warps off. That's what happens in Star Trek movies. Everything from the show has to be ramped up for the big screen. And speaking of things being exaggerated for the big screen, Rutherford tells Holo Billups that you can do anything with the transporter in a movie after accomplishing an impossible feat. This is clearly a stab at how Scotty from the Kelvin Timeline films is able to, in essence, do anything just because the plot demands it. The Cerritos crashes. This is a visual reference most likely to Generations, but we've also seen it happen in Voyager. Vindicta, the bad guy, the villain that Mariner embodies, is similar to Khan or Nero or Shinzon in that she seeks revenge. She quotes Tempest, as pointed out by Holo Ransom. Shakespeare was also enjoyed by another Star Trek movie villain, Chang, in The Undiscovered Country. Now this next thing might be a bit strange, and I technically can't confirm that it's really an Easter egg, but the delivery by Tawny Newsome when being Mariner pretending to be Vindicta truly gave me some epic rap battle of history vibes. The cadence, the tone, I do wonder if there was inspiration of some kind. Maybe it's just me. I'll try to play some clips back to back.
You can't even appreciate your most valuable creative thinkers. I am Vindicta, today you die.
My syllable delivery is devilishly intricate. I rock the house once I'm invited into it.
Anyway, Holo Mariner emergency transports Holo Freeman away, just like Data does to Picard in Nemesis. We then get a rickety metal catwalk fight, which is indeed a recurring setting for fights when it comes to Star Trek movies. I mean, come on, we've seen this before in Generations, Insurrection, Star Trek 09, Into Darkness, kind of. Mariner as Vindicta ends up fighting Holo Mariner, which is herself, and thus we get two versions of the same character fighting, something Star Trek has a true habit of doing. The movie then ends with Vindicta waking up and getting out of a torpedo kind of sarcophagus. That's a reference to, I won't say what movie, as to not spoil something, but it is from another Star Trek movie. And then of course the signatures, each lower deckers has signed their name in the end credits, which is a reference to, of course, Avengers Endgame. No, I'm kidding. Star Trek VI, Star Trek The Undiscovered Country, is the movie that did it first. Some more random things I wanted to point out include Tendi getting angry at being stereotyped as a pirate. That's because up until now in the franchise, Orions haven't ever really been the best of species. We've seen them as smugglers, black marketeers, pirates indeed, and hopefully I'll be able to put out a video on them soon so we can kind of shed some light on that. Anyway, Shax mentions the Pa Wraiths, which are a bunch of evil aliens / gods, depending on what you believe, featured in Deep Space Nine. Mariner talks about Toby the Tog and how she dressed up as him for Halloween, which is a super deep cut. Toby the Tog is the main character of a series of children's holo novels in that time period. Apparently, Belana Torres was a fan of this holo series as a kid, because when she was a child, she had a Toby the Tog plush toy. I didn't. This was a super deep cut. Memory Alpha helped out on that one. And am I mistaken in thinking this is the first time Halloween is actually mentioned in Star Trek? Anyhow, to finish this off with the deepest of cuts, Mariner mentions Boimler is a kind of Zon. Now, I had to look this shit up because I had no idea who she was talking about. Now, it was mentioned in the discussion that I did with Starfleet Boy, and I'm sure people like Fathery over at Text Trek knew exactly what was going on, and they were all going to shame me for not knowing this. But I didn't know who Zon was, and apparently Memory Alpha documents the character as supposed to be a Vulcan character, replacing Spock in Star Trek Phase 2, the show after the original series. He was also supposed to be in the motion picture once Phase 2 got scrapped, but ultimately Leonard Nimoy returned and the movie featured Spock, so Zon never really existed except in mention as a Starfleet captain in 2285. So Zon has never been seen on screen, but he does exist in universe. There you go. Alright, that's pretty much it. The two last little things that I wanted to mention are this painting in the holographic Admiral's office. It's a recreation of the beach that Tendi, Boimler, and Mariner went to in the first episode of the season. It's fun to think that the holodeck is using its own assets multiple times. It's recycling this image of the beach and using it as a painting. And then the second thing is Shax's huge bazooka, plasma weapon, whatever it is. In the script, it's described as another special movie budget weapon, and it is reminiscent of the time they gave a bazooka to Worf in Insurrection. Okay, that should be all of it, I hope. If I did miss something, please don't hesitate. Leave a comment telling me what I missed. What did you think of the episode? Did you like it? Did you not? Thank you so much again. And that's about it. Alright. Don't forget, like, subscribe, share with your friends. You can become a patron and live long and prosper. Hopefully, Halloween shirts coming this week.